In 1922, in the coal-shadowed town of Ash Hollow, Pennsylvania, a burial took place where nothing seemed unusual at first, until the ground above it began to move like something underneath was still alive. Margaret Vance and her 6-month-old daughter were found just after sunrise inside their narrow company house, lying side by side on the wooden floor as if they had simply fallen asleep together. There were no injuries, no signs of struggle, no broken furniture, no forced entry. The coal stove had gone cold in the night, and the doctor ruled it suffocation, a quiet and familiar explanation in a town where the air itself could kill. But the men who carried Margaret out never forgot her hands. Her fingers were locked tight, curled inward as if she had been gripping something with all her strength. Yet her palms were completely empty. The explanation satisfied the record, but it did not satisfy the town. For nearly 2 weeks before her death, Margaret had been telling neighbors about a sound beneath the house. At first it was faint, like distant machinery deep underground. Then it grew clearer, more rhythmic, almost like breathing. She said it wasn't always there, only at night, and only when the house went completely still. Her husband, Thomas, dismissed it in public, calling it nerves, but he had already begun tearing up sections of the floor in the back room, digging into the packed dirt beneath with tools borrowed from the mines. He found nothing. No pipes, no tunnels, no animal den, no old shaft entrance, nothing that could explain why the sound seemed to follow Margaret from one side of the room to the other. What frightened him most was not the noise, but the pattern. When Margaret walked, it shifted beneath her. When she stopped, it stopped. One night, she tapped the floor 3 times with her heel, almost joking. A second later, from directly below, came 3 dull answering knocks. After that, she stopped laughing. On the final night, Margaret woke Thomas sometime after midnight and told him the sound had changed. It was no longer beneath the house. It was inside the walls. Then she said something that he would not repeat for years, that whatever it wasn't just making noise anymore. It was waiting. Thomas claimed he felt a single sharp vibration through the floor, like something striking upward from below. Margaret grabbed the child and stepped back, both of them staring toward the far corner of the room, completely still, as if listening to something he could not hear. By morning, they were dead. The funeral passed without incident. The coffin was sealed, the burial completed, and for a short time, Ash Hollow allowed itself to forget. Then the ground began to sink. At first it looked like ordinary settling, a shallow dip in the soil above the grave. But over the next few weeks, the earth pulled inward in a way no one could explain, forming a deeper, rounded depression directly over the burial site. Workers were sent to inspect it, assuming the coffin had collapsed underground. It hadn't. The structure was intact. The lid was still secured, but when it was opened, the burial cloths lay neatly in place, and the bodies were gone. No signs of disturbance, no tearing, no shift in the arrangement. It was as if Margaret and her child had simply ceased to be inside it. That was when Thomas finally told the truth. He admitted that he had heard the sound too, long before Margaret died. He admitted that it did not behave like anything natural, that it reacted, adjusted, answered. He said that on some nights, standing in complete silence, he felt as though the space beneath the house was not empty at all, but occupied and aware. When asked why he never warned anyone, his answer was simple and chilling. He said he was afraid that once people understood it, they would start listening for it themselves. The official story never changed. The records still listed suffocation. The house was eventually torn down, but no one ever dug deep enough to find what lay beneath. The land was left alone, avoided without being spoken about. But even now, people passing through that part of Ash Hollow say the ground feels wrong. Not hollow, not soft, but faintly responsive, as if something below can feel the weight of a step above it. And on the stillest nights, when the air goes quiet and the town sleeps, some claim you can feel it. Not a sound, not a movement, just a slow, steady pressure rising beneath your feet, like breath. And the truth that finally settled over Ash Hollow was not that Margaret had died from the air inside her house. It was that something beneath that house had learned how to reach her, without ever needing to come up, because whatever answered her that night did not need to leave the ground. It only needed her to notice it. And once she did, it knew exactly where she was.